16 games in the NHL, frozen frenzy back on my television set in the corner, and the Edmonton Oilers taking on my former most hated team of all time in the Carolina Hurricanes. Sign me up, brother. Hello and welcome to Pregame with BORDZY, brought to you by Sherwood Ford, the Giants, back at home for my first show of the season. Big shouts out to the Giant for a reason. As I always say, check in the chat right now. Rusty, he's in, of course. He says, let's go Oilers. Time for the top six to wake up and dominate the game like I know they can. The streak starts tonight. I love that optimism from our boy Rusty. Austin's in with a simple, here we go. I imagine he's saying that like the Joker in The Dark Knight. Here we go. Zach, I know you get that reference. Kiwi's in and just is the most mannerly, respectful person. Just always says, hello, Aaron, or hello, BORDZY. So hello, Kiwi, to you. And I'm back home for my first game of the season, first show at home. I also got new lights behind me. Check that out. I can do that now. Late breaking news. You can do them at different paces. Look at that. But no, we're sticking with blue today. What up, everybody? Happy to be here with you on this fine Tuesday NHL jam-packed evening. Let me tell you, I'm joined tonight by Zach Lang, news director at Oilersnation, writer at Oilersnation, and new co-host of the DFS report from Daily Faceoff. Zachary, we got 16 games on the NHL docket this evening. Look at this bad boy. Your fantasy brain must be just straight up overwhelming with all the information here. And how big was the Daily Faceoff daily fantasy report graph today? Because those things are crazy. And look at this slate. This is incredible. Games dropping the puck 15 minutes apart from each other. Zachary, what a night for hockey.
Yeah, BORDZY, it's a beautiful sight to see for hockey fans living south of the 49th parallel, because of course we don't get to watch Frozen Frenzy up here in Canada. So we just have to watch whatever games we can on our televisions, because that of course is the only way to watch hockey nowadays and other sports. You know, it's funny, BORDZY, when you mentioned the here we go thing, I didn't actually hear it in the Joker voice. I actually heard it in Dak Prescott. Yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
Anyways, here we go. Going to be an interesting night of hockey. You know, you got the Rangers blowing out the Canadians so far, Blue Jackets beating up on the Maple Leafs, and going to be a really fascinating game here tonight in Edmonton.
They said 16 games one night. Sign me up, dude. Puck drop all the time. I know one of them is dropping at 11 Eastern. I believe the Golden Knights and LA Kings, which in English means 11:20 Eastern. Do you feel bad for the boys out east? But you look at that schedule. And here at Oilers Nation, we do not promote reckless gambling. Bet responsibly, as I always say. Only bet what you're willing to lose. But throwing $1 down on a 16-game parlay tonight, it's like, don't touch the hot stove, Aaron. Of course, I'm going to touch the hot stove. I had to throw one down, and I'm happy to report I am still technically alive right now. I believe it was for like plus 214,000, something like that. Zachary, did you make any dart throws today on the Bet365 betting board?
No, not on the betting board. Got more than enough action in the fantasy streets tonight, though. So got a lot of that I'm keeping my eye on, and another slate coming up here with the Oilers kicking it off.
I remembered to set my fantasy lineup before 4 p.m. today because that was a little tricky, and you got a lot of decisions to make. Also, shout out, I did my fantasy basketball draft last night because tip-off is tonight in the NBA. I am a big ball guy. But Zachary, I wanted to start tonight's show with something a little different, something a little bit more fun, because all 32 teams are in action tonight. You know we're 2 weeks into the season, which means it's overreaction season all over the place. So I wanted to play a little game of fraud or not with you to start off. You don't know about any of these. I've got people on Fraud Watch so far for fantasy implications, for betting implications, playoff implications, you name it. So we're going to play fraud or not. I have prepared 6 early season storylines, and I want you to tell me if they're frauds or not. The last one, a little bit different, but we'll start it off. The first one, tell me if they are fraudulent or not. The Winnipeg Jets with a perfect 5-0-0 record. Are they frauds or are they not?
They're not. I will say they're not going to go 82-0 this season, but I do think that the Winnipeg Jets are a very good team. No reason they shouldn't be at the top or right near the top of the Central Division this year. Connor Hellebuck, as seen pictured, absolute stud and a huge reason why I'm high on the Winnipeg Jets this year. And the nice thing is that they're getting some offense from their second and third lines here early on this season, letting that top line of theirs chug along and get themselves into the season.
I see our former producer, not former, he's on vacation. Sorry, I should pick that better. Brett Holden is in the chat right now. He is in California. So we got these guys are not frauds at 5-0-0. How about the reverse? If we look at the next one here, the Nashville Predators. 5-0 on the season, still looking for their first win of the season. Is this start a winless start? Is this fraudulent or is it not?
Ooh, good question. I'm going to say it's not. And that's a little bit of a hot take considering the additions they made this offseason. But, if you look up and down the lineup, I get it. They got some really nice pieces there, but they're just not gelling right now. Bordsy, they almost remind me of the Edmonton Oilers of last year. A really slow start to the season. You still got a coach that's kind of young, kind of fresh. I wonder if there might be a coaching change needing to happen in Nashville sometime over the next month.
I think Andrew Burnett is officially on the hot seat. I guess if I was to go, and once again, this is overreaction season. We're having fun with this. Maybe him, maybe Mike Sullivan, but I really don't even think him to any degree of that. We move to our next fraud or not, and this one hits close to home because the Calgary Flames, if we look today, top of the Pacific Division with a 4-0-1 record. Zachary, are the Calgary Flames frauds or are they not?
Frauds. Of course, I would pick fraudulent here. Listen, I think it's a great story right now that the Calgary Flames are having a start that they had to the season. I don't think a lot of people really expected them to come out as hot as they did. They're getting some good goaltending, and above that, they've got some guys throughout their lineup, like Jonathan Huberdeau pictured, who are red hot to start the season. The only problem, Bordsy, is that they're shooting at 14.7% as a team. It is absurdly high. That is going to come down over the length of the season. And more so, you look at this roster and there's still a lot of young guys who have not played full seasons in the National Hockey League. It is a much different animal, and I think they are going to be in for a rude awakening sometime soon.
I see some people in here. Wow, Kyle, fraud, Kiwi. I don't think it's sustainable. Sasky Oil fan, fraud. Shocker that all these Oiler fans in here are saying the Calgary Flames are fraudulent. So those three teams with records, they got two others here. They're a little different. They're specific players. So, Pat, let's pull it up here. This one's been interesting so far to start this season. Ross Colton has 6 goals in 7 games played so far this year. He's looked very, very good with some Nathan McKinnon and some Rantanen. Is Ross Colton a fraud or is he not?
He is not. I'm a huge fan of Ross Colton. Picked him up in some fantasy hockey leagues over the course of the last week here. He had an excellent week last week, 5 goals in 5 games. He was a huge waiver wire pickup if you nabbed him on the wire. Listen, I think anybody playing on the top line alongside Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen, you're going to be live for many, many goals. More so, like you take a look at last season for him, 17 goals, 40 points in 80 games. It was a breakout campaign for him, at least offensively. Although even in Tampa Bay in 21-22, he had 22 goals and 39 points in 79 games. He's still a younger player at 28 years old. He's right in the prime of his career. Somebody needed to step up for the Colorado Avalanche, and he's doing so in a huge way for them.
Another guy who's stepping up in this one, it's a little bit home for me. Dylan Guenther's got 5 goals in 6 games played. This year on my hot take list to start pre-gaming, I said Dylan Guenther, he's scoring 30 plus, maybe even 35 plus. I guess now that's kind of looking like a lukewarm take, but tell me, I've got him in some fantasy leagues. Is Dylan Guenther a fraud or not? He's going to keep this going, right? Please say yes.
Yeah, I think he is. I'm going to go with not on this one. Big fan of Dylan Guenther. Obviously signed a huge long-term extension with the hockey club this offseason. An Edmonton Oil King. Everybody knows him well here from his time in Edmonton, but this is a tremendous young player who's ready to take the next step forward in his career. Yeah, okay, maybe there's been a bit of a come to earth the last couple of games for Utah, riding a real high to start the season with their first year in Utah. I think, your wager, your estimation of 30 goals is well within the realm of possibility, especially after potting 5 in his first 6.
Yeah, exactly right. And shout out to his former Oil King teammate, Jake Neighbors, as he signed a 2-year deal with the St. Louis Blues. Meaning, Zach, I read your article today. the Oilers cannot offer sheet him and try and give the St. Louis Blues a little kickback. Okay, my sixth and final 1 year for Fraud Watch is Bronny James, because the NBA season tips off tonight. Me and Wanye got in a good debate this afternoon about this. I'm a huge basketball guy. I watch ball all the time. I just told Pat I got my two 65-inch TVs in the basement right now. One's got ball, one's got hockey, and we're rocking and rolling. I hate this stuff. I get it as LeBron. If I had a kid and I was LeBron, I would bring my son around the team too, and I would do everything he's done. Bronny James can't shoot the ball. He can't dribble the ball. He's not fast. He's not big. He can play defense, I guess. Is Bronny James a fraud or is he not?
Listen, Bordsy, I know very little about basketball, but there's one thing that I do know. Bronny James is a fraud. He's a fraud. I don't know enough about basketball to be super confident, but I'm confident in Bordsy. Listen, I'm just going to leave it at that because that's about as far as my analysis can go on basketball.
He is 100% a fraud. Okay, I will tell you that right now. You're 100% Perfect. Right. Baz Manu 786. What a name. Love that Bordsy is an NBA fan though. I'm a 5-time fantasy basketball champion. 5 times. I won 4 years in a row. The 1 year I didn't, I lost in the final. Unfortunately, I lost to my brother in that final, and it really sucked. But that's enough of Fraud Watch or not. We're going to do this, I think, a little bit more as the season progresses and the storylines go along, because I don't know. I like using the F word. I like calling people frauds. I think it's a fun thing to say. But tonight, for the Edmonton Oilers, the Carolina Hurricanes are coming to town. Frauds, they are not. Another big test for the Oil, I would say here. You look at the head-to-heads. Carolina comes in 2-2. They also own every head-to-head category. We've had way too many of these graphics to start this season so far where it is all on one side, and it's not the Oilers. But the Oil, no secret, they're going to need their best effort tonight. This team, perennial playoff lock. They have made the NHL playoffs for 6 consecutive seasons. And you talk about those Carolina Hurricanes, they're just solid. They have a solid forward group, a solid defense score, a solid goalie. Word of the day today is going to be solid. But for a struggling team, Zach, the Edmonton Oilers, this is a tough matchup. I've been looking for some get-right games and maybe a couple point nights for the boys. We'll get into all the reasons Carolina is so good defensively a little bit later on in the show. But the Oil tonight, they got to bring their A game because this Carolina team does not mess around.
Yeah, they sure don't, Bordsy. I mean, this is a team that has been one of the best out east for a number of years now. You know, obviously they've struggled to really break through in terms of the playoffs, but regular season-wise, they are about as good as they come here in the National Hockey League. You know, what's really interesting for me here in this game is a couple of things. Last year, 2 games between these two teams, 2 very different games. One, a 6-1 win for the Edmonton Oilers. One, a 6-3 win for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, what's interesting is that the Edmonton Oilers, for some reason, want to match up Connor McDavid a lot of the time against the Jordan Staal line of the third line. And that Jordan Staal line, Bordsy, is one of the best defensive lines in the entire National Hockey League. This is something that we break down and dig into a lot of the DFO DFS report. You can tune into that tomorrow at 2 p.m. afternoon Standard Time, Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. You know, for me, Bordsy, I would really like to see the Oilers try and get away from that matchup and generate some success for the top line. You know, they've reverted the lines back to essentially what they were game 1 of the regular season against the Winnipeg Jets, and I like it. We know, you and I have talked so much about this top line. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, one of the best in the National Hockey League. You know, now it's time for the second line to get their feet underneath them. Leon Draisaitl, Jeff Skinner, Victor Arvidsson. The Oilers need this line to get moving along at some point here. I don't know if it's going to be tonight, but there are a couple of nice games coming up on the schedule for the Edmonton Oilers.
Shout out to our boy Patrick Puff, because he just put in the chat a nice little link to the DFS report. Shout out, Pat. He's coming in, he's stepping in. I missed you, Pat. I missed that in there. I see some people in here. Wise Kyle, 6.7 is an average power play, eh? Perfectly average. We all know that. But the Edmonton Oilers, they're struggling right now. It is no secret. 2-4-0, not the ideal start, and eerily similar to last season. Let me tell you, panic, it's not setting in. It's kind of starting to. You can feel a little bit of that dark cloud. 2-4-0 looks bad. You know what looks worse? 2-5-0. You know what looks worse than 2-5-0, Zach? 6.7% on the power play for this Edmonton Oilers team. Scoring goals has been the Oilers' biggest issue. They got several issues, but scoring goals has definitely been one of them, and especially with the man advantage. They're 0 for their last 11 on the power play, and I'd say the 5v5 chances, they've been there, specifically last game against the Dallas Stars. For a man who does Bordzy's bankroll, I can't profit if the Oilers don't want to score goals. So can we get back to the old Oilers where at least we're losing 7-6 just for my betting wallet? But I can't say the same about the power play. 5v5's had chances. Power play, sure, some here and there. It has just been off, and there's been a number of reasons, whether you want to blame Bouchard, as Jay nicknames the shin pad assassin. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins looks off. Connor and Leon kind of making hero plays, but at points they just look stagnant. They look flat. They look hesitant, whatever word you simply want to use. And I would argue, had the Oilers, here's your obvious stat of the day or statement of the day, had they found some power play success, and not even superhuman Oilers levels, 30% levels, just like 18%, 20%, the Oilers record would look drastically differently if they could just get some production with the man advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the power play is a huge point of contention. Both myself and Tyler Yamchuk wrote about it today at Oilersnation.com. The thing with this power play is that I almost wonder if other teams are just starting to really learn what the Edmonton Oilers do, right? It's been years that this unit has been together as a 5-man unit, and it just feels like they're continuously trying to do the same things. And they talk about wanting to play road hockey out there, but they also seem to just try the exact same plays that have worked so many times over and over again. Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch said after the Saturday loss to Dallas that his coaching staff would be considering changes, talking through some potential swaps. I almost wonder if it's time to bump a guy like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins off, maybe in favor of somebody like Victor Arvidsson, a right-hand shot, mix it up, get a bit of a different look out there. Maybe even Jeff Skinner, somebody who's been, having a really good start to his tenure here with the Edmonton Oilers. I think 4 or 5 points so far in the games this season. So it's going to be curious to see what happens. I'm definitely interested to see what happens here tonight, and something I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the power play a little bit later on in the show here, because there's been a lot of people with opinions of who should come off, who should come on, and I think I do agree. Right at this moment, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, if I had to pick one, I think he's the odd man out. He just doesn't look anything like the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that I've remembered in the past. Here you see it on your screen. 6 games played, 2 assists, and no better, picture of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' season so far than the last game. He gets an opportunity in the dead slot. Puck comes right on his stick, and he just fans on it completely. Shout out Nuge, because he made a quick play over to pass it to Leon Draisaitl, who did score, but that's just the kind of year it's been for the Nuge so far, and I fully expect that to change. But the offense hasn't been the only issue. The Oilers, they have found, and I'm going to use the word some here, they have found some defensive consistency in the pairing specifically. That might not be the case tonight, but you cannot say the same about their special teams and their goaltending. The PK, dead last in the NHL at 55%, and Stuart Skinner, he's got the 48th ranked save percentage in the NHL at 851. It's kind of all going wrong for the Oilers right now. We've seen this movie before. They're a team that they'll figure it out, stay calm. But I think that might be a reason why tonight, stop me if you've heard this before, the line blender is going to be back out tonight. A number of changes going down. So let's start it off and let's get into our need to know information courtesy of Wilhauk Beef Jerky, because only the finest tasting meat products earn that sweet, sweet Wilhauk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, their jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. They gladly fill orders of any size. You can find their jerky, sausage, and other products out of their Leduc area. And for more info, just go check out WilhaukBeefJerky.com. So tonight, need to know information, and there is a little bit of it, Pat. Let's just pull up the Edmonton Oilers lines so we can all look at this one together. As you see here, McDry, you're done for. You're done. We're getting separated. We're finally getting what I have been wishing for a couple games. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is back with Connor McDavid. Zach Hyman will be on that top line as well. And here we go. Will it stick? Jeff Skinner with Leon Draisaitl and Victor Arvidsson. I am excited to watch this one. Didn't get to see enough of this one after all the talk we had all off season long. But it doesn't stop in the top 6, because if you look at line 3 that I'm putting in quotations with air quotes, it's Matthias Janmark, Derek Ryan, and Connor Brown. If you're familiar, that was pretty much the 4th line for all of last season. And your 3rd line, in my opinion, the Oilers even put these lines out like this as well, so it did kind of confuse me. Vasily Podkolzin with Adam Henrique and Corey Perry. But it doesn't stop there. Let's take a look at the D-core tonight, because it's Ekholm and Bush. And no, that is not a typo. No, I didn't flip these horizontally in the graphics. It's Travis Dermott with Darnell Nurse. Travis Dermott on the left side, Darnell Nurse on the right. And then it's going to be Brett Kulak with Troy Stetcher on the right. So Ty Emerson, he is going to be out. We can talk about it in a minute. I got some more questions, but Zach, my question to you, what was your reaction when you saw this morning and these lines came out? We knew that Darnell and Dermott were probably going to play together. I think even in practice, we had seen them switching sides. Did I think that this would be the answer early in the season? No, I did not. I thought Troy Stetcher and Darnell Nurse have looked good together, arguably better every single game. Zach, what was your reaction to Nobby switching everything up tonight, it feels like?
Men's confusion, especially with Darnell Nurse. I don't know, man. I don't even know where to start, honestly. Like, this is not the time to be trying out Darnell Nurse on the right side. You had 8 preseason games. Granted, I understand that he was banged up and all this kind of stuff. Last season when you still had Philip Broberg here, that was the time to try Darnell Nurse on his offside and see what he can do there. But hey, you know what? Maybe there's something to this. Maybe all along, Darnell Nurse is actually a right shot defenseman who's been playing on a left shot stick. Maybe he comes out tonight with a right-handed stick, and all of a sudden he's, the best defenseman in the NHL. I don't know. Joking aside, though, I mean, I guess you got to try it out. Got to guess you got to see what it looks like, I suppose. I'm not a huge fan of it here in like what is really a fairly important game early on in the season. Carolina is a really good team. You want your players to be in comfortable positions. And I'm also not really a huge fan of breaking up the Adam Henrique Connor Brown duo in the 3rd or 4th lines, whichever one you want to call the 3rd line or the 4th line. It is what it is. I thought they've been excellent so far this season. I thought they looked really good with Jeff Skinner down there. I did not mind that whatsoever. I think they're a duo who play really well together. I wrote about it last week. They both talked about how much they love to play together. So I thought that one was a little bit weird too. But again, I guess you got to find the right mix somehow. It just feels like this is all stuff that should have been happening in the preseason, not in, game 7 of the regular season.
I understand you got to mix things up and you got to test it out. We're going to touch on this a little bit more in the show, but I'm super confused by this on so many levels. I laughed when how many people have come in this chat and said, we need to try Darnell Nurse as a forward. We need to switch his position. I didn't think this was ever going to come. And the frustration for me is that Darnell Nurse and Troy Stetcher, I think, have looked good before. We've tried this move before where Brett Kulak in the playoffs, your more consistent defenseman, tried to switch sides. He failed miserably. And Darnell Nurse, I love him or not, he is one of the more inconsistent Oiler defensemen out there. So you want to switch his side with a partner that we've seen already didn't really work. And that partner's a right side guy. We're switching it up. I don't get it at all, but it all comes down to hashtag in Nobby we trust. And we're just going to hope, because let's remember, Nobby has made a lot of decisions with this lineup over the last year, and they have worked out a number of times. We're going to touch on that a little bit more when we get in the Oilers lineup. Jeff Skinner, revenge game, anyone? Skinner spent the first 8 years of his career with the Carolina Hurricanes. He's played in 579 games with them, scoring 204 goals, 379 points. You look at his stats so far this season. Since leaving Raleigh, Jeff Skinner has 13 points in 13 games, 7 of those being goals. He's also moving up to play with Leon Draisaitl with one Victor Arvidsson, who is still pointless so far this season. I like Jeff Skinner's shot prop tonight. It's hit in 5 of 6 games already. I like him to get a point. I like him on this line. I like revenge game. And did you know this, Zach? This is also a Derek Ryan revenge game, technically. He played the first couple years of his career with the Carolina Hurricanes. And I don't want to put a guy on blast, but resident Derek Ryan fan Matthew Wozniak did not know that Derek Ryan had played for the Carolina Hurricanes when I asked him today. Kind of a tough look for a resident DR fan. DR had 15 goals one year with the Carolina Hurricanes. It was his first couple seasons. RNH, the Nuge, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he has the most points by an active Oiler versus the Hurricanes. He's got 21 points in 20 games. I like the Nuge tonight as well, as he's going to be back on that top line. Connor McDavid, ever heard of him? He averages 1.38 points per game against these Hurricanes. And Zach Hyman, who needs a bounce-back performance, he has 7 points in 6 games against the Hurricanes tonight. Stuart Skinner, he's going to get the start as well. Hasn't been a great year. 404 goals against, 851 save percentage, fresh off allowing 3 goals on 23 shots against the Dallas Stars. Stu's got to give me something here, because I can only sit in this chair every single show defending my boy to the nth degree. He's been solid at points. He's been inconsistent at points. It's early in the season. He is a young goalie. We'll touch on that a little bit later as well. On the Carolina Hurricanes side of things, brother, they made some changes this offseason, and it started with the dudes wearing the suits. GM Don Waddell left. Eric Tulsky, he comes in. Jake Gensel went to the Lightning. He signed an 8-year deal. Brett Pesce went to the Devils. Brady Shea, he goes to Nashville. Teuvo Teravainen, he gets reunited in Chicago. They did make some additions. They brought in Jack Roslovic. They brought in William Carrier to kind of help carry that load. Shane Gostisbehere and Sean Walker both signed multi-year deals. They're the second pairing for the top 4 of the Carolina defense. And they also added from within, because I just think this is cool, a son of former NHLer Jason Blake. Jackson Blake is now playing a role in the top 6. He has 2 goals so far this season. Zach, were you a Jason Blake fan back in the day? Because weirdly enough, you know some of those guys just in shell that you just love and they just work for you? Jason Blake was one of those guys for me. Every fantasy draft, every dynasty draft I did, he was on my team. Were you a Jason Blake guy at all?
Yeah, sure. I wasn't really expecting that to be one tonight. But yeah, no, he had a long career in the NHL, 13 years, 871 games played. Yeah, it's always cool to see the sons of former NHLers lacing up the skates.
I think Tyler used the term Nepo baby like 18 times today on the show, which brings me to Bronny James once again. Fuck out of here. Carolina and Edmonton, they both grabbed a win last season. First one came in November. Carolina beat them. What did you say? It was 6-1 or 6-3? The Oilers won 6-1.
Yeah, in the second game, Zach Hyman had a hat trick in that game. Connor McDavid 3 assists, and it was a 6-3 win for the Canes in the first one.
It's almost like you have my notes right in front of you. You know who else had 3 points in one of those games? Matthias Janmark, the janitor, brother. You got to like that. Sebastian Aho, he leads the Hurricanes with 4 points right now. Well, their leading goal scorer comes from the back end, as Shane Gostisbehere has 3 goals in 4 games. The Ghost, he's also been smashing a shot prop as well. If you wanted to bet on anything, not on the Edmonton Oilers, that's one I would look at tonight. And we're expecting Freddie Anderson to get the start tonight. Both goalies for the Hurricanes, complete opposites, you could say. Freddie Anderson, a .936 save percentage with a 1.53 goals against average. He's who the Oilers are going to see tonight. Could have been Peter Kochetkov, and he has an .867 and a .305 goals against. Kochetkov played in their last game against the Blues, so we're going against Freddie Anderson this evening. Let's start now. Let's get into our Sherwood Ford Giant storyline, brought to you by Sherwood Ford the Giant. Tired of dealership hassles? Sherwood Ford in Sherwood Park is all about convenience and upfront pricing with their Giant Deal program. Get clear, no nonsense pricing on new and used Fords online with all incentives included. Plus, enjoy the ease of mobile service, free pickup and delivery, and same day or next day service appointments. Sherwood Ford, the Giant for a reason. You know them, you love them. They've also got the annual Sherwood Ford Food Drive coming up October 23rd to November 6th in support of the Strathcona Food Bank. You can go to Sherwood Ford, you can go to Sherwood Power Sports Marine, or you can go to Lakeland Ridge Junior High School here in Sherwood Park. Shout out the Wolves. I say it all the time. and they'll be taking store-bought, unopened, non-perishable items. It's the holiday season. It's time to help out. If you can, go drop off some non-perishables. Tonight, for my Sherwood Giant storyline, is simply get the offense back on track. I don't care if it's power play. I don't care if it's 5v5. I don't care if it's shorthanded and you can find one. I just need to see pucks cross the goal line this evening. It's like you can feel the frustration through the television set at points with this team. New forward lines, I do think, are going to help jumpstart this offense. Definitely going to help Nuge. I think Hyman, it's a matter of time before he scores. We'll touch on him in just a minute. Leon, he gets the talent of Arvidsson and Jeff Skinner on his top line. Just very confused about why Nobby went away from it that quick in the season. What were we, 2 periods into the Jets game? And he said, all right, I'm done with that, and we're just going to roll with Leon and McDry for a couple games. I am so stoked that we have split those guys up. Spread the wealth, as they say in that lineup. My storyline tonight, Zachary, offense, offense, offense. Please, can we wake up? Do you agree with that one, or do you have a different storyline that you're looking at tonight?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great angle to look at here. This is going to be a tough game for the Edmonton Oilers, just matchup wise. They have had offensive success against the Hurricanes in the past. So, it can be done. For me, Bordsy, I'm going with the complete other end of the rink. Stuart Skinner, lock it in tonight, big guy. He's a young goaltender, as you had mentioned before. Somebody I think is definitely struggling early on so far this season. This would be a huge one for him to absolutely slam the door, keep it a low scoring game, let the Oilers find a way to score 1, 2, 3 goals and secure a win that way.
I like that. Zach, what's the difference of how you spell offense? Which one is Canadian and which one's American?
So offense and defense is spelled with a C in Canada and with an S in the United States. And center is spelled C-E-N-T-E-R in the States and C-E-N-T-R-E in Canada.
Kiefer, let me know what country you're watching from. Otherwise, I'm grammatically correcting everybody in the chat today. We already went through, Pat, just pull it back up for me if people can get a look at the Oilers lines this evening. I like the change, spread the wealth, as I said, and I like Rico in the fourth line with those guys. Touch on it in just a sec, but Perry and Pods need to be rewarded with, I think, a better centerman out there with the way they've been playing so far. I love it. But the big story tonight in the forward group is McDry finally split up. I understood the move to put those two together at the time being. I always say it, break glass in case of emergency. You bring out McDavid, you bring out Draisaitl. I thought it was committed to for way too long. And the thing is, it hasn't worked. And they're still struggling. And it's kind of come at the cost of the rest of the lineup. Like you look at Ryan Nugent-Hopkins right now, Pat, pull up those stats again, because he just looks like a shell of the 100-point man that we saw 2 seasons ago. He's got 2 assists, 6 games played, but he isn't shooting the puck. He's hesitant with the puck. He's making sloppy passes, or he's receiving the passes sloppily. I've pointed out he didn't have a stick on the ice on a nice give and go with Connor McDavid the other day, and I was incredibly frustrated. I think reuniting this trio is exactly what the doctor ordered for RNH. Shocker. Playing with the best player in the entire world is going to help you out. But I asked Bag Milk before, why is Nude struggling so much? He said it's because he's not a centerman at this point of his career, or at least not a play-driving offensive centerman. Get him back on the wing next to Connor McDavid. Maybe let him be more of a passenger, if you will, and let him use his high hockey IQ and quick plays, smart plays. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, I'm looking for a bounce-back performance tonight, Zach. Do you agree? Are you seeing that as well on your crystal ball?
Yeah, I think it's due time for him to bounce back here. I will remind everybody of something, and that's that he's a bit of a streaky player. Even when he's at his best, he's somebody who has always been a bit of a streaky player. And again, we've seen these huge offensive numbers for him in the last couple of years, and it's been great and all. And playing with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman and the top power play unit. People tend to forget that he was like a 60-point guy before he really broke out offensively, a 50, 60-point guy. So it wouldn't be that shocking for me to see him kind of regress back to being a 50 or 60-point guy. I think there's a lot bigger concerns on the team than Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. 5.125 million. He makes a very team-friendly contract. He's somebody who is a bit of a jack of all trades for this team and has been for a long time, right? So for me, I'm not hitting the panic button just yet on Nuge. But at the end of the day, you got to see some production there sooner rather than later.
Speaking of needing to see some production, the other guy on that line, you could say is struggling even worse production-wise, because I do think he's looked pretty good. But Zach Hyman has 0 points to his name so far this season after scoring 54 and 77 points last year. And dude, he's just the definition of snake bitten right now. I said he's got poisonous venom in him. Last year, he had all the puck luck in the world, right? He was scoring pucks off his face, off his chest, off his legs. Connor was just straight up banking pucks off his stick as he was being the third post that we know and love. But this year, he's just not getting that puck luck. It is a matter of time, in my opinion. He has 9 shots on goal in his last 2 games. He just could not tuck in close against Jake Ottinger in the last game. And give Ottinger credit. He's one of the best goalies in the league, making $8.25 million for a reason, $8.25 million a season for a reason. I am not worried about Zach Hyman because the way he plays is super consistent. It's not that crazy style of offense. He's in the same spots. He's doing the same things. Thoughts on Zach Hyman start the season so far? Because I took his over on point production this season. I think the line was 80.5. Not feeling great about that one, but it's a matter of time for Zach Hyman, in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Bordsy. And I think the numbers support that as well. First and foremost, he's shooting 0%. That's not going to happen. That's not sustainable for a guy like him, who is a bit of a volume shooter, right? Beyond that, he has generated, according to Natural Stat Trick, 3.09 individual expected goals on the season. So what that tells me is that based on the quality of chances that he's getting and the looks that he's getting, he should have 3 goals right now. He has 0 goals right now. So he's got 3 goals in the bank stored right now, waiting to come out. He's waiting to go and make a withdrawal and cash those bad boys in. So it's going to come sooner or later. Is Zach Hyman going to go and score 50 goals this year? Is he going to score 55 again? Like I would be surprised, honestly, right? That's a huge, huge number to hit. But, at the end of the day, at 35, 40 goals, Zach Hyman, you're going to take that every single day of the week, right? Again, looking at his contract and the value that he brings based on that, right? So I'm not overly concerned about him either at this point. But again, kind of like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, it's like, okay, at some point this has got to click. And it would be nice if it's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it sure would be. I see people in the chat right now are nonstop talking about Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. They're gone, people. We got to get over it. It's already happened. I also mentioned, did you see Dylan Holloway go between his legs assisted by Philip Broberg the other game? Because that one was a real kick in the nuts. Let me tell you about that.
Well, you know what, Bordsy? You just got to let it go, man. They're not Oilers anymore.
See ya, boys.
See ya.
You're dead to me, Dylan Holloway. You are dead to me. I used to love. Not going to say what I was about to say, but I want to bring up the next line, the second line, because Zach, leave it to the Oilers to acquire 2 proven wingers for Leon Draisaitl. Talk about it all summer long, and then play him with neither of those 2 proven wingers to start the season. But tonight, that changes, my brother. We've only gotten to see the Skinner, Arvidsson, Dry line for what I mentioned, 2 periods in game 1 before Nobby blended everything up. Jeff Skinner has been incredible. He has had a great start to his Oilers career so far, as we already looked. Yep, 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists, 14 minutes of ice time. Expect him to get a little bit more of that with one Leon Draisaitl on his wing. But the thing about Skinner that I'm loving, and he's come exactly as advertised, because he's been producing points here. And may I remind you, he's had some points taken off the board thanks to some of these shit reviews that we've had to look through, but he's done it on that third line. He's played with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on the second line. He's scored on the second line power play. Jeff Skinner, we'll start with him first. Talk about Arvidsson in a second, but Skinner with Dry. Why has it taken this many games for this to happen? Especially the way Jeff Skinner has looked and played so far and the production he's found with other players. I'm not going to sit here and say Victor Arvidsson's been bad, because I don't think so. I think he's had underlying numbers that would show you he will get some points at points. He's looked good in spurts. He's been banging away in the dirty areas. I was excited to watch this line all season long. And damn it, Zach, I am still excited. Today feels like I'm opening up my Christmas present for the first time. Tell me about your thoughts of this line coming together. And for the love of God, Nobby, I'm talking to you directly. Can we just let this hang out for like 4 games, 5 games? Let's let him cook, because I don't know. It's a thing that you can blend it all you want, but we don't know what we need because we don't know what we have so far in this season. Zach, your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Bordsy. Let them cook. Let them spend some time together and really build some chemistry. I mean, this is the second line the Oilers wanted because this was the line in game 1 of the regular season. These 3 were together, right? They wanted this from the start of the season. Again, and I wrote about this last week on Oilersnation.com. A big issue that I have here, Bordsy, is that I really don't think the Oilers utilized the preseason very well whatsoever. You got 8 games out there, and it wasn't until game 7 when you actually started to see lines playing together. In game 6 of the preseason against the Vancouver Canucks, Connor McDavid was centering a line with Vasily Podkolzin and Corey Perry. What are we doing here? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And granted, I get it. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Zach Hyman, they've got all the chemistry in the world with McDavid. So they've spent a lot of time together. They've had success together. We know they're going to work together. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be playing together in the preseason here, right? They still need to, get on the same page and get the flow of playing as a line once again together. So, I think it really goes back to all of that for me where I have a big issue here, especially with Skinner and Arvidsson. Didn't really feel like they utilized the preseason well for either of these guys too. And this is going to sound so cliche, and I get it, but cliches are cliches for a reason. I mean, these guys are brand new players to the Edmonton Oilers, right? So it's not shocking to see there being an adjustment period here. Victor Arvidsson was playing on the dark side for, the last number of years going up against the Edmonton Oilers. I'd imagine it's probably a little bit weird for him, donning the orange and blue now. Jeff Skinner, obviously, he's gelled a little bit better, right? 2 goals, 4 points. Granted, one of those goals was a real ugly one against Nashville, but you take those, right? They all count the same at the end of the day. So I think it's just going to be a matter of time. The thing that's really promising for me about Jeff Skinner right now is that, he's scoring at a good clip. 2 goals in 6 games is great to see. He's also shooting the puck a ton. He's taking 14.9 shots on goal per hour of ice time right now in all strengths and all situations. That's up from the 10.7 that he had last year. That's up from the 10.5 that he had in 22-23. He's getting more scoring chances. He's getting more high danger looks. He's creating a lot more rebounds. I think it's just a matter of time before it really clicks for him. And, he's a 40-goal scorer for the Edmonton Oilers this season.
I agree. I got to read his comment every time it comes in. Bordsy is in the chat, and he wants Nuge and Skinner to switch lines. I believe that says Nuge in there as well. I got to start making the show 90 minutes because I have so much prepared, and we're already at 43 minutes past the hour. Final one for the Oilers. Be quick here. Should the Oilers consider making power play changes? I do not think so. It's weird to say that like all 5 players feel like they're snake bitten simultaneously, but the Oil are with the Sabres and Ducks for the least power play goals on the season. They've had 20 blocked shots in 20 opportunities, 20 of their own shots blocked. I mentioned they look frustrated. People have brought up Skinner for Nuge. Someone today in the ONE chat brought up Corey Perry for Zach Hyman. I am not at that point yet. We're not anywhere. I don't even want to switch Nuge. Go quick here, but would you make any changes?
Not yet. No, I think you got to give him a couple more games. I don't think you should be making any big assumptions based on this game either, because Carolina's got an incredibly good penalty kill. They once dubbed it the power kill. It was so good because they were able to turn the tide of opposing teams' power plays. So, for me, I think you got to let it ride a little bit longer here. I think more importantly, it's start to try and find some different looks and just get some shots on net. That's a huge issue right now versus last year where, the Oilers are taking a very similar amount of shot attempts, but a lot less of them are actually hitting the net here. So they got to do a better job of finding their lanes. They got to do a better job of finding guys that are open, and they just got to find a way to get one.
Fix the power play, fix the penalty kill, which is also dog shit. Maybe get some consistent goaltending and do all that while everybody else is switching positions. We're going to have a night tonight, baby. We're going to have a night tonight. I'm excited for this hockey game. Let's go now to the starting goaltender report brought to you by Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. Hit the trails this winter and the waves next summer. As fellow hockey fans, the team at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine are helping Oilers Nation fans gear up. They're home of an ATV for just $50 bi-weekly, or get on the water with a boat next summer for as low as $105 bi-weekly. Sherwood Power Sports and Marine are hockey fans helping hockey fans get ready for their next adventure with motorcycles, quads, e-bikes, boats, scooters, you name it. They said it's the adult version of Toys R Us because I love everything inside there and I want to buy every single one of them. Let's take a look at the head-to-head between our two goaltenders this evening. Much like the head-to-head team comparison, this one is also very one-sided. Freddie Anderson has only played 2 games, 153 goals against with a .936 save percentage. Stu, 403 goals against, 851 save percentage. And I kind of said this off the top. I need Stu to give me something here because I'm getting people in my DMs on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm getting my buddies sending me clips of my own self defending Skinner, and they're just poking holes in every bit of the argument. I hated the backlash that Stu got after Dallas. He was getting ripped apart for allowing that Matt Duchene goal off the power play at the end of the second period. And while it's one he definitely wants back, it went just over his glove. Stu makes that save 9 times out of 10. Matt Duchene also walked in from the blue line, like as our boy Brett Holden, producer, said, it was like warm up, and he just took in a couple strides, ripped that as hard as he could with his chin strap unbuckled. Stu, you got picked there. The second goal was a complete breakdown on every level. Connor McDavid drop pass, Bush falls, Bush is slow, Ekholm's moving, McDavid wasn't back checking. Stu, no argument here. He needs to be better, but I do think he's getting kind of a bad rap right now. Stuart Skinner, Zach, is not the only issue with the Edmonton Oilers, but he needs to be better.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And that was why I said he's one of my keys to the game here tonight. You know, you want to see a better performance from him and start to string some together. He's a much better goaltender than those numbers show. And they look ghastly right now, and I get it, but it's a really small sample size. You know, 2 big games of 925 save percentages, and those numbers start to come down, right? So I think more importantly too, like what's nice to see is that he's still making some stops. He's still making some saves to keep the Oilers in the game. I thought that was the case on Saturday against Dallas, especially early on in that game. You know, the Oilers really pushed hard, and they really could have used a goal in the first, 2 periods of that game. Before Dallas was able to get on the board with a power play marker late in the second period. So going to be interesting to see what happens here. You got to keep riding him, I think. There's no need to, constantly be flipping back and forth here in situations where Skinner's able to get adequate rest. Ride him, see what he can do, go from there.
Give him some run support. You can't win the game if you're not scoring goals in general. And we think Winnipeg game didn't score. Last game, you got 1 goal. Offense tonight. Also, I see in your McDry Man 2025 said no one talking enough about Bush, sloppy passes, minimal effort, not taking his shot. If I had more time on this show, we would have continued to go through there, but it's a tale as old as time. We know this with Bouchard. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. I haven't really liked his defensive intensity so far this season. You'll put it at that if he has intensity, but he did in the NHL playoffs. It's just been frustrating on the power play. The shin pad assassin just not finding pucks the way through, but that will change. We're not changing up Bush as the quarterback of this power play. Let's move now to the Carolina side of things, brought to you by Greta Bar-Yeg. You know him. You love him. My favorite watering hole in the entire city. Go check him out tonight. Go check him out tomorrow night. Check him out on the weekend. Friday night, Penn's in town. If you're going to the game, make a little stop into Greta Bar-Yeg. Play some Mario Kart, play some air hockey, play whatever you want because they've got it all inside Greta Bar-Yeg. My favorite spot to enjoy a couple cold ones from time to time. You know me. I also want to shout out right now Odd Company Brewing for our nation beer, from being part of initiatives like the University Hospital Foundation to their involvement with Happy Beer Street and Hot Pocket. Proud to be a part of Edmonton's growing beer scene and to support local causes. And look at this can, brother. It tastes even better than it looks. The Nation Beer Everyday Lager. Go check them out on liquorconnect.com. You can find out what liquor stores they're in. You can go to Odd Company, their location in Ritchie. You can get some there. Or, as I have done, I have personally looked in the eye of my liquor store by my house. And I talked to the attendant and I said, hey, I don't want to drive to Odd Company. Can you start buying this? And you know what he said? He said maybe, so I will have to update that in a couple days. We'll find out about that one, but let's take a peek here at the Carolina Hurricanes projected roster this evening. We'll see if any of this changes. I'm happy I make you laugh. I hope people in the chat laugh. Top line, Andrei Svechnikov with Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis. Jackson Blake, son of Jason Blake, with Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Martin Necas. Then it's Jordan Martinook, Jordan Stahl, and William Carrier. As you mentioned, quite the third line shutdown pair. Coombsy made a hilarious joke today. We were talking about being sons of former NHL players. He said, isn't Jordan Stahl the son of Eric Stahl? And I had tears in my eyes today when he made me laugh about that. Fourth line, Jack Roslovic with Jack Drury and Eric Robinson. And on the D side of things, Jacob Slavin with Brent Burns, who I want to talk about, Shane Gostisbehere, Sean Walker, Dmitry Orlov, and Jalen Chatfield. Said Carolina, they've had a slow start to their schedule. They've only played 4 games so far. They're 2-2. They are allowing an NHL low 23.5 shots a game. You look at all those numbers, power play, good, PK, good, goals for, good, goals against, good. This team's just good. Solid was the word of the day. I mentioned all the roster turnover they've had this year. I'm not going to take this team lightly. I do want to say this, and I might get roasted. We'll see. This is me talking out loud and thinking out loud. These might be famous last words. I feel like Carolina has kind of missed the boat on their Stanley Cup window chances. I've mentioned Teravainen's gone. You brought in your Gensel. They've made the playoffs for 6 straight years. The furthest they made it was the Eastern Conference Final once. And I think it was the first or second year of that playoff run. The point I'm making is they are a lock for the playoffs. They don't really scare me as much as they used to, but they do play a good, responsible brand of hockey. They made a lot of changes here. I want to ask you, Zach, when you look at that lineup, who's your player to watch this evening? I know mine. I guess I'll start with mine. I'm saying Seth Jarvis. I think this guy is he's awesome. He may give the best interviews in the entire National League. He's an absolute stud. He has scored 33 goals last season and 34 assists in his third full NHL season. And may I remind you, he is 22 years old right now. When you look at this roster, Zach, who jumps out to you? Who's your player to watch this evening?
Yeah, Seth Jarvis is a good one for sure. Another could have been an Edmonton Oiler when you look back at the old draft boards and how things went there. You know, the guy that is the real one to keep an eye out for me is actually his line mate, Andrei Svechnikov. 4 career hat tricks, 2 against the Edmonton Oilers, coming in back-to-back games against the Oilers. He's been a killer before. So that's a guy that I'm keeping my eye on. Another guy, too, on the blue line, Shane Gostisbehere, having a great start to the season for the Carolina Hurricanes, quarterbacking that top power play unit, which is also pretty potent, just like their penalty kill is. So those are the 2 guys that I'm going to really have my eye on here this evening, Bordsy.
Comment of the day goes to McDryman. He said it's the Carolina Brawnies. Nepos with Blake, Drury, and Stahl. I like that. Where's else? Your pal Joe said Jarvis is hilarious. I love the energy. My final question to you, because it was a good debate today on Oilers Nation Every Day with Ty, Liam, and myself and Coombsy. Is Brent Burns a future Hall of Famer? I think he is, without a doubt. Some people in the chat today was a little bit of a debate. I think Liam had some pushback as well. He's played 1,419 games, 1,419, which is a shit ton of hockey games, 255 goals, 626 assists, 881 points. I believe he won the Norris in 16-17, where he scored 29 goals in a season. Yes, he's played forward and defenseman before in his career. But have we ever seen a player like Brent Burns before? The only one that comes to mind is Dustin Byfuglien, both guys that kind of did both. I think he is Hall of Fame worthy. Let me know in the chat. What do you think? And most importantly, Zach, what do you think?
Man, that's a really great question. 3-time All-Star. He's got the Norris under his belt. He hasn't won it all. That's a really important thing for the Hall of Fame. But again, like you said, like he's kind of been a bit of a groundbreaking player in a sense for a long time, you know, as a real offensive blue liner in some really, you know, slower scoring years from defensemen. So I think there's a really, really good case for it. I just am not sure if he's got enough behind him to get across the finish line.
I totally understand the debate. That's why I asked the question. So people in the chat here, Fighting Amish, good point. No one Burns. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Pretty Good. Yeah, I do like that one. Final buzzer. Longevity gets you in the Hall of Fame. You got to be fair. He's been a long career and he has been very good. How many guys do you know that have scored 29 goals? Granted, I don't know what position he was playing that year. A little bit of everything, but that's what makes him so different and so exciting to watch for all of these years. Most importantly, he's got Hall of Fame looks. That look about him should be in the Hall of Fame. What, he drives his van around too? He's missing every tooth in his front mouth. That's hockey. I don't know about Hall of Fame. Continue to let me know in the chat. I see Fighting Amish said no cup. He would have made the Stanley Cup Finals, Sharks against the Pens all those years ago, but we remember how that one finished as well. Let's move now to Bet365. It's time for Bordzy's Bankroll, brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Pre-Gaming with Bordsy. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today and use the code you see on your screen, all capitals, OILY bonus. Check out Bet365 because I have been nailing my football parlays 2 in a row. Zach, I found an AI Instagram account that's doing all the math to help me make money on Bet365. But it's just for the NFL. You see here, if you're new here, Pat's going to make a quick poll. Producer Pat, that is, who's doing a great job behind the scenes. We'll make a poll. I want you guys to vote on which one of these bets you like the most because I like them all. And I already responsibly and reasonably bet all 3, and I parlayed it together. Plus 1,000 even money for Bordzy's Bankroll Parlay today. First option, Connor, to get 2+ points. Last season, anytime I saw Connor and 2+ points with a plus sign next to it, I was smashing that. So this one jumped out to me. 97 back with Nuge, back with Hyman. You're going to see what they can do tonight. Hopefully they can cook it up. Second one, because it's just been making me money nonstop. Jeff Skinner to get over 2.5 shots on goal. He's hit this in 5 out of 6 games. He leads the team in shots on goal. And for some reason, I love you, Bet365, but this is still at plus 145. Have they not checked the game logs and stat sheets? I don't get it. As I mentioned, he's first on the team in shots on goal with 21. And the final one, Zachary Martin Hyman to get an anytime goal plus 140. He has 0 points in 6 games played. He's snake bitten as snake bitten can get. He had scored a hat trick last season against Carolina, just like Nuge, just like Connor. They're all going to be back together. And he had 9 shots on goal in his last 2 games. He needed one pass to injury. He just couldn't get it. And shout out to Ty for the stat because he said last year, Hyman didn't go more than 5 games all season without scoring. Well, this is game number 7. So plus 140, you know I had to look at that. Also, that photo of Zach Hyman looks pretty intense with that glare. I wonder what he's looking at. Zach, which of these 3 bets is speaking to you and talking your language?
I'm tailing 2 of yours today, Bordsy. I'm going to be riding the shot prop. I absolutely love that one at plus 145. Hit it in 5 of 6 games so far this season. Love the Hyman goal prop here as well. One more that I'm mixing in. It's got a little juice on it. Matthias Ekholm over 1.5 shots on goal. It's minus 175, so it's got a little bit of juice on it, but he's also hit this one in 5 of 6 games so far this season. He's been shooting the pill a ton so far this campaign. I like him to keep it up tonight.
Squishies for breakfast. Probably going to be a tight, boring game, but I hope I'm wrong. We're doing a new thing where we're making a graphic of score predictions. I said 3-2 tonight. The under is just talking to me, this Carolina brand of hockey they play, and the Oilers haven't really been able to score many goals this season, so we'll see. Something's got to give. Something's got to change tonight. I see some people, K. Waddy. McDavid checks into the season today. 4 points. He does have 6 points in 6 games as well. Ryan S., anytime goal. Hyman is due. And Mick High and Dry. I like that name. I don't know if you just changed your name from the other one you were, but he says Rogers Place needs to bring the energy today. And I agree. Zach, on our way out, give me a score prediction and an anytime goal score. A go.
Going to go with a 4-2 win for the Edmonton Oilers, covering a very, very juicy puck line tonight. And, you took Zach Hyman. I'm going to go Victor Arvidsson. Let's see if he can get on the board here tonight. He's due for a breakout here as well. And this would be a great game for that to happen.
I said he was going to score 34 goals this season. I need him to get 1 before we can get 34. So let's go, Victor. Let's go, Arvidsson for me. 3-2 going to be the final score. And Zachary Martin Hyman, final buzzer. 1-0 Oil. Mistaken Mexican 5-1 Oil. And our boy Patrick Puff, Connor Brown goal. You got to like that. I wonder what those odds are going to be. Mackay and Dry said 1-0 in a shootout. I would hate that. I need to get some profit here in Bet365. Zach, big shouts out to you. We are past 7 o'clock right now, so be sure to get glued to your TVs. Tonight, Oilers Nation After Dark. Zach, you're only doing half duty because you're an angel and you always say yes. You're my go-to bullpen call. Tonight, we're bringing back the Beatcast, baby, because Bagged Milk is going to be joining me this evening. I'm sure we'll get an appearance from Satan as he's done every single time he joins me, so that'll be exciting. Keep it locked right here on the Oilers Nation YouTube for Oilers Nation After Dark right after the game. Big shouts out to our sponsor, Sherwood Ford the Giant, presenting sponsor of Pre-Gaming with Bordsy. Couldn't do anything I do without them. Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, Greta Bar Yag, Odd Company, Bet365, Willock Beef Jerky. I love them all, and I love every one of you. Good luck out there on the Bet365 battlegrounds, as I say, and hopefully we all turn a profit. Hopefully we're having a very positive post-game. I can't believe that coffee cup, Zach. Donuts. Cheers, my boy. Everybody, good luck out there tonight. Catch you right after the game. Cheers.
Cheers.